A new generation of ninjas is up for the challenge of their lives.
They're here.
For the first time, the stars of Ninja Junior are graduating to the big show.
I'm just ready to show them what I got.
Incredible skills.
Come on!
Impossible feats.
American Ninja Warrior this year is going to be wild.
American Ninja Warrior. New season, Mondays to Fridays at 7:55. Only on AXN.
Hello and thanks for joining us for the midday news. Hungary President Katalin Novak has returned to Port Moresby yesterday from her visit to Manus province on October 26th. The president visited the cemetery and laid a wreath at the memorial of the martyred ministries in Loges. She also visited the Maria Molgar training center and presented computers and toys to the Maria Molnar Music and Bible School. The president departed Loges for NBC beachfront and traveled to Pitula Island to visit the historical site of Maria Molnar's house. The president and delegates walked to the center of Pitula Island and visited the villages at the church for a worship service and later consecration of the bell in honor of the missionary Maria Molnar. The Regulator of Mines and PNG Mineral Resources Authority has assured landowners of Porgera Mine that it will ensure New Porgera Limited is compliant with all laws before it reopens the mine, and compensations agreements are requirements by law and must be executed first before the start of the project. MRA was responding to claims by landowners that the government, New Porgera and Barrick were rushing to open the mine without completing compensation and the community development agreements.
Acting Managing Director of Mineral Resource Authority, Jerry Gary, in a statement said, MRA is committed to the landowners and is in constant dialogue with New Porgera to ensure compensation agreements are progressed and signed. He said compensation agreements are mandatory requirements and must be signed before the commencement of any mining operation. Section 155 of the Mining Act requires a compensation agreement to be in place between the holder of the tenement and the landholders before the tenement holder can enter and occupy the land for mining. He therefore said the mine cannot be opened without this agreement in place. He added that the compensation agreement does not affect the granting of SML 13 and its mining development contract. Thus, these documents were executed lawfully. In response to calls for the Community Development Forum to be conducted first before compensation agreements, Gary said CDA was not a mandatory requirement to the reopening and can be executed after opening the mine. Priority now is to get the compensation agreements done. He said any benefits agreed to will be paid retrospectively to the date of the grant or other mutually agreed commencement date. Gary also cleared the air that Porgera was not a greenfield project but a brownfield one. This means Barrick has been on the ground and had already been permitted entry under the care and maintenance agreement pursuant to an order of the National Court for the upkeep of the mine until it opens. Ruth Rungula, TV1 News.
The Papua New Guinea government should consider establishing a coffee market center overseas for farmers to sell their coffee, says the former member for MAPRIC, John Simon. Simon said the world market where PNG coffee buyers sell their coffee is established by European Union and they often determine the price, affecting PNG farmers. Farmers in PNG produce less than 1 million bags of coffee annually, and with 60 kilograms per bag, often an average coffee farmer makes less income than expected. Former MAPRIC MP John Simon said coffee contributes immensely to the economy of PNG, but farmers often do not make enough money, and that is why the PNG government must consider establishing a market centre for the farmers to directly sell their coffee. He said, apart from a market centre, the PNG government should also consider establishing a storage facility that is conducive to store coffee. He said the storage facility must be built to store not just coffee but other crops as well. The Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, or RPNGC, will host a Pink October Awareness Day in Port Moresby. The Awareness Day coincides with the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, an annual international health campaign organized by major breast cancer charities every October to increase awareness of the disease and raise funds for research into its cause, prevention, diagnosis, treatment and cure. Therefore, the RPNGC will host a sausage sizzle and sell customized T-shirts. All proceeds will go towards the breast cancer awareness campaign within the country. US President Joe Biden has issued a warning to Australia to trust but verify what China has to say ahead of Anthony Albanese's visit to Beijing next month. The Prime Minister is wrapping up his visit to Washington, D.C. with a state dinner at the White House.
The White House could have scaled back or even delayed Anthony Albanese's official visit here this week, given the crisis in the Middle East, but it didn't. In fact, the Biden administration has gone out of its way to show it's not taking this relationship for granted. It wants to draw Australia even closer. The President is urging Congress to hurry up and pass legislation necessary to make the AUKUS deal a reality. Despite all that's unfolding in Israel, Gaza, not to mention Ukraine, the President doesn't want anyone to think he's taking his eyes off the long game, the strategic contest between the US and China. He raised China several times while standing alongside Anthony Albanese today, and at every turn was critical of Beijing over its aggression in the South China Sea, its debt trap diplomacy, and even its own internal economic woes. The President's words and actions this week are a clear message. Australia should stick with its trusted friend. And it's surely no coincidence that message is being delivered just as Australia's relationship with China improves, and just 9 days before the Prime Minister makes a highly anticipated visit to Beijing.
The ACT could become the first Australian jurisdiction to recognise the human rights to a healthy environment. Legislation before the Legislative Assembly would add it to the list of human rights the government has to consider when it makes decisions. Environmentalists hope it becomes a model for a familiar approach nationally.
Recognised last year by the United Nations, the right to a healthy environment could soon be enshrined in the nation's capital.
This will be really quite powerful right across all agencies of government in how they're considering this right in their everyday work.
The definition of a healthy environment includes a few key elements: clean air, clean water, a safe climate, sustainably produced food, and healthy ecosystems and biodiversity. The bill would add it to the Territory's Human Rights Act, which helps shape other government decisions. But that could make for a delicate balancing act on some issues.
No human right is absolute, so rights interact with other rights, and they're also subject to a public interest test.
Still, environmental advocates have welcomed the Australian first move.
I think we would all hope that the human right to a healthy environment is recognised in all Australian laws, and that's something that we would like to see replicated nationally.
Anjali Sharma was the teenage litigant who argued the Federal Environment Minister had a duty of care to protect young people from climate change.
I would like to think that if there had been this human right in legislation, that the appeal against the duty of care would not have been successful.
Now a university student in Canberra, she's pleased the ACT is leading the way.
Often with radical policy mechanisms like this, we see that jurisdictions and governments are scared to step up, scared to be the first one.
What's still unclear is how the right to a healthy environment will stack up against other rights when they inevitably collide. It's a question that may yet involve the territory's Human Rights Commission or even the courts.
6 elders are urging the Australian government to intervene before the gas company Santos puts a pipeline through sacred sites that are believed to be in the ocean. The legal battle highlights the growing importance of underwater cultural heritage management.
On the Tiwi Islands, elders sing to their ancestors. The women are worried about a gas pipeline that could go through undersea burial grounds.
We care because it's part of our culture, our beliefs, and how we connect to the sea.
The Tiwi Islands looked very different 20 to 15,000 years ago. As the Ice Age finished, glaciers melted, potentially submerging significant sites.
I was told by the elders of the existence of burial grounds on sea country.
But proving this before Santos's pipeline goes in will be difficult, with possible locations 50 metres below sea level. Jonathan Benjamin is part of a team that pulled stone artefacts out of waters near Western Australia.
You'd be surprised how many archaeological sites actually do survive inundation and then are well preserved for thousands of years.
There could be cultural sites in the waters all around Australia, and while some people are calling for better protection for them, their very existence and recognition could pose a problem for all sorts of offshore development. Santos says its own cultural heritage surveys found no evidence of anything significant, but these locals are still worried.
It's not good if what is happening, what they're trying to do, because it hurts us and our belief.
It's sort of disrespecting our heritage and our ancestors.
Regardless of what happens, it's clear the connection between the past and the present is continuing.
In sports, the Port Moresby Women's Softball Association will host the finals of the Nancy Camara Cup this Saturday at the Bissini Softball Diamonds. A total of 8 teams took part in the pre-season tournament that ran for three weekends, culminating in tomorrow's final. After the round-robin pool matches, 8 teams will proceed to the playoffs for ranking in the finals. Gazelle will meet Saints in Pool Gold, Stringers versus United Sisters in Pool Black, Cebu face Aviat in Pool Gold, and Bears meet Mariners in Pool Black. President of the Port Moresby Softball Association, Ian Soani, said the Camara family are sponsoring the trophies for the best on the diamond for the 4 finals, and the players of the tournament trophy with the winners sealed. Soani added a total of 9,000 kina are up for grabs. And that's all for now. Join us at 6 this evening for the main news. Bye now.